off by a good quarter of an inch.
Jesus.
The wrong repetitions we used, they were angled heeled repetitions for straight capstan screws, which also gave a full sense of weight resistance. Not original screws or mixed type screws for the stack, which is not a big deal. Key frame wedges were loose. They were unglued to the key frame.
Wow.
No buckskin on the monkey guides. Worn key frame end felts. There were indentations on the felts, so the timing for the underlevers was off.
So they didn't change the key end felts in the so-called restoration, correct?
Correct. Now, let's face it, if they're relatively good, you can get away with it. But these were extremely worn. Okay? Key chucking from front to back, excessive key leads and uneven key weights balanced throughout the keyboard. The prop or the key glides were unevenly set. Now, in that aspect, I know a lot of people may not know how to do it correctly, but these were like way off. The key level height was uneven. The heights did not match from the bass to the treble, off by a good eighth of an inch. Uneven key level, uneven spaces between the white and the black keys, uneven let off. A good 30% of them were blocking up. Uneven drop, excessive key depth by a good eighth of an inch.
Really?
Okay,
Jesus.
and that was, not including meeting regulation. Now, in all fairness to the people that sold the piano, the client wanted a inexpensive Steinway. Okay, and, I understand because I get people that approach me, either it's for a discount on the restoration of their piano or a discount on the sale of the piano, but compared to a lot of people in my general area, I feel I'm reasonably priced with a lot of the things that I do. Okay. I always try to be sympathetic to the client. You can drive a better car than I do, and they live in a better environment than I do, and they go to better restaurants than I do. If I can try to accommodate and help, I'll always try to do so. But this job was excessively wrong. He tried complaining to the house that he purchased it from. They took the piano back for a period of time and basically gave him the piano back and told him, there's nothing else we can do. Nobody else can do better. Well, if I tell you, I probably regulated this piano 4 times just to bring the reins in, to zero it in. Okay, to be able to bring the keyboard back to the client's house and finish the job in the piano. It was a nightmare. I mean, I literally wanted to refuse the job more than once on this. And as much as, I made my price on this, I felt I didn't make enough, considering the amount of work that needed to be done in this keyboard.
So let me, just for clarity's sake, this piano, this client had been charged whatever he had been charged by. Did he buy the piano, quote, restored, unquote, from this piano store?
Well, this is the deal. He bought the piano restored.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's where the house is at fault, because it defined it in the warranty as a restored instrument, which it has not been. And go ahead.
Again, for clarity, did this venue rebuilds, quote unquote, this piano?
Yes. In their terminology, yes.
Unbelievable.
They claim that it was restored.
Well, that's criminal.
Correct. Now, when they took the piano back, when they offered to take the piano back, on top of things, they were going to try to sell this piano on consignment, no less, instead of giving the owner of the instrument his money back, or an opportunity to trade it in for a different instrument, an opportunity to do right by the store. Okay, and they were not able to fulfill their obligations to the client. And at this point, I mean, I didn't want to know who the house was when I first got involved in this.
Yep.
Eventually, it ended up coming out because everybody has kind of like their signature of work, so to speak, in the work that they do.
Number two, it's like a little village. Everybody knows everything.
Correct. And it's reached the point where the client is gonna file charges against the house that's involved.
Well,
to try to get his money back.
He should. That's criminal. What they did is
I
criminal.
agree with you, but it it's like, do we have the to get involved in such an item, let alone the repercussion from the house? They might slander me, and who knows when I would find out, if I would find out.
Well, yeah, the ultimate best thing to do in a situation like that, in my opinion, I've been in over 40 odd years in the piano business as a high-end tech and restorer. I've run into a lot of situations. And the best thing to do is, if you can, is to just walk away and say, that was a 10 grand lesson or a 20 grand lesson or whatever.
Definitely.
Because do you want to be in close contact with people that you have called, holes, people that you wouldn't like to spend 5 minutes with, let alone be in business with? Jesus.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, there's a saying, if you got a $10 head, you buy a $10 helmet.
That's
okay,
right.
And anybody who will laugh at that will understand exactly what is meant by it. Okay, and that's what this individual did. He bought an inexpensive Steinway.
Yeah.
But they still misrepresented it. Now, everybody can define certain things in their own light of things. An inexpensive Steinway, maybe an original board, maybe an original block with with pins and new strings. Okay, maybe used action parts, but there was a wear and tear and it was regulated.
Yeah.
Okay, this was an extreme.
Yeah, okay? Obviously, and it was a criminal extreme, as I said.
Correct. The biggest offense I found through this, and this is just in the keyboard alone, okay, I can't go into as far as the belly is concerned, but to a 1940s, let me verify that. Yeah, I don't have that information here in front of me. Yeah, roughly a 1935 vintage piano.
Yeah.
Did not have the original action parts. Someone installed parts, my opinion, from a different piano of the same size. And either they glued the hammers on wrong or they got it like that. They just installed it in the piano and tried to make it work.
The reason that people like you exist, and that a lot of the people on this call, piano technicians and restorers, the reason we exist is because of what my dad used to call the 10% rule.
Okay.
He said, in any business, he was a lawyer, he was a negotiator, basically. Said in any business, any domain of business, there's only about 10% of anybody that's both great at what they do, right? But they're also really good people. They return phone calls. They're honest. They're fair. They're compassionate. They're ethical. That's right. They have a code of operation that has some morality to it. And he said there's about 10% of those people, of everybody in the domain. So this radio hour and you and a few people like you in New York City are kind of standard bearers for ethics. And that's why I'm much more interested and excited about how AC builds a Steinway and because I've been hearing about and playing your pianos for 25 years in California. And I'd love, I mean, I can see what you do, but I'd love to hear it from you, like how you see it.
Well, if everybody online doesn't mind, I mean, I'll get into it on a brief aspect as much as we can dissect everything we're going to say.
Well, that's what we're here for. We're piano nerds. We all love this stuff. So if you can tell us, what goes into, like your best restored Steinway, that would be great.
Well, best restored is always going to be a matter of opinion. Let's face it.
Of course.
Okay, but it's always good if we can start with a virgin piano, one that was untampered with by anyone.
Yeah.
Okay, because then we don't have to go backwards before we go forwards. Starting with the pin block, when you're reproducing a pin block, you have to match authenticity of specification in the thickness, in the widths, in the length,
in everything,
from the treble to the bass, in everything. Because if the cast iron plate is not set the way it was designed at date of birth, you alter the fundamentals of the keyboard, of the mechanics. Now, in years back, a lot of people may not realize that the wedges on the key frame were taking off the height of the strings. And the key frame itself was designed around the location of the plate.
Sorry, someone just got unmuted.
Go ahead.
That's okay. That's okay. So, if I change the height of the cast iron plate or how the plate sits in the body from left to right, I will alter the speaking length. I will alter the let off and drop. I will alter just about everything. Okay, so it's crucial that you match authenticity of specification. The same thing with the sounding board. I mean, the ribs were matched to the cutouts in the inner frame. And trust me, I've seen alterations from piano to piano with the same ear. Do I try to make them all the same? No, I match what is there. Because a lot of times, even what I might think to be an error is what made one piano better than the other.
Right. And what made it sustain? Yeah, because it was deeply handmade in the teens and aughts and 20s and 30s, and it was.
Okay, now did they reinvent wheel in here and there? Yes, they have. Different ways, how many different times? And for the most part, they all worked and worked well. There's a couple of flops that happen between here and there. It can happen to any. All right, but even for instance, with that, the inner rim is pitched. There's a pitch to it. I don't know the degree angle, so please, nobody ask me. But some of the very old Steinways, like the Style 2 and the Style 3, the inner rims were not pitched. The years back, we used to do warranty work for Kawai America. And when we go put in a new, we noticed that the inner rim was not pitched. So we used to strategically scrape it and give it a more pitched board from the inner rim and give it a better sound.
Like a several degrees slope from the top of the rim to the bottom of the rim?
Correct.
Wow. And all Steinway rims are pitched like that?
Yes, they are.
Wow.
If you take a straight edge and put it on the inner rim and press on it, you will notice it will pitch up. So between the design of a diaphragmatic board, the pitching of the rim, even the bridge has a curvature to it. It's not just a flat piece of wood.
Yeah.
That all adds to it. Putting it in the hot box to shrink to take the moisture out of it. Then by the time it gets glued into place, the board is actually absorbing moisture and is popping even more. That's all calibrated. Now, trust me, this is not my doing. I cannot take credit for it. This is all Steinway design, and a lot of other manufacturers copied this as well.
Yeah.
All right, but it's maintaining what we've learned, what we learned from the product in front of us. A lot of people don't know how to read what the piano is telling you. Look at the minor things that could seem minor, but actually are crucial elements in making that a better instrument. As a mechanic, I can tell you, if I'm off in the bass on the striking point by an eighth of an inch, I can get away with it. It's not a common practice,
right.
but I can get away with it.
Right.
The length of the string, the diameter of the string, the size of the hammer, but the treble, I cannot. Okay, it's crucial that I match that sweet spot.
Right.
I had a situation today on a piano that we got from the Caribbean where the treble cheek box had an eighth of an inch play out. Now, this just didn't happen overnight.
You mean to move the strike point? Eighth of an inch.
Exactly.
Jesus.
Exactly. Okay, so obviously the mechanic prior to me may not have had the knowledge or the machinery tools to make the correction. So they relied on the tightening of the key or the cheek block to hold the key frame in place.
Yeah.
But in transit, that can move.
Of course it can.
Now, the hole was kind of like oblong. It was tight in the bottom and loose up at the top. And the question is, how can you repair something like this? Well, in the home, the repair obviously is going to be a little different than out in the field, than in the factory.
Yep.
Okay, but the key thing is to keep that key block from moving inside the piano.
Yeah.
Going to what you're asking me about the work that we actually rebent key beds on all the pianos that come through our hands.
Say it again.
We rebent the key beds. There's a bevel front to back and left to right.
Oh, you resurfaced the key beds.
In the sense that you're putting a surface on and redoing it. But yes, we are taking out the high points to create that bevel which goes front to back.
And how do you measure that? How do you get the precision measurements of that?
There's no real exact measurement to it. Okay, but the glides or the props, terminology, okay, will take up the differences between the left, the center, the right, et cetera, et cetera.
So you're just looking at the line.
You're looking at the proper clearance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taking the straight edge, holding it from the front lip into where the dags are.
Yeah.